Welcome everyone to our second question answers live stage on Discord for Galactic Civilizations IV. Today we have Derek.
Oh, hello. I'm Derek Paxton. I'm VP here at Stardock Entertainment. More importantly, I'm the lead designer on Galactic Civilizations IV. So happy to be talking with everybody today.
And we have Chad.
Hey there, I'm Chad LaForce. I'm producer on GalCiv IV. Great to be here and welcome everyone.
And I'll be the main organizer here and the one who's responsible for everything goes terribly wrong. Henry, I am actually the community lead for pretty much everything, well, most in Stardock. And today we are talking about the upcoming beta for Galactic Civilizations IV. Derek, do you want to start by picking our first question or a little announcement you have?
Let's do a little introduction for everybody. I'm sure if you are here and listening to a Q&A about GalCiv IV, you're familiar with it. But just for everybody maybe listening to the recording and everything, we went out as an alpha build. We went out very early on, earlier this year. It's been out for a few months. We really value community feedback, being able to talk to people, getting people to tell us what they like, what they don't like, so we adjust the design throughout. The MVP community has always been a big part of all Stardock games. So we're on the forums, we're on Discord, we're listening to you, we're having sessions like this. There's been things already, from every patch that goes out. A lot of the things that went into it come from community feedback, and even in preparing for this Q&A, some of the questions that were going to be asked, Henry sent me a list of them. I'm like, you know what, that's a really good idea, and they made it into this beta too. The beta is the 0.6 build, and it is up on the test server right now. So we just released it in time for this Q&A, so people could get in and try it out. So yeah, let's talk about it. Let's ask questions, and then if anybody wants to go play afterwards, it's there for you.
Yay! Okay, I think we should start with Divine since they've had their hand up this entire time. So I'm going to welcome DivineWrath to ask their question. See, that worked. There we go. Hey, Divine?
It looks like he's up, but he's muted.
If you want to just type the question in text, we can do that as well. I know some people don't like using their mics, or don't have a mic, or etc. Okay, yeah. Is it the same question you asked earlier? Yeah, they're typing in text right now. Yep, so the question is, as someone who enjoys and still plays GalCiv II, is there anything about GalCiv IV that will appeal to me?
I feel like, and you tell me if I'm wrong here, because GalCiv II, GalCiv III, GalCiv IV, these are huge games. These are sandbox games. Players can have very different experiences with them, depending on what faction they're playing as, what abilities they have, what their map generation settings are. Can dramatically impact, I'm going for a really diplomatic game this time, or I'm going to sit back and I didn't fight any wars at all, but I built my cultural network throughout the whole game. So that's a really tough one to answer. I will say that GalCiv III was very open, very much an open world. We go out and explore, and you kind of build forever. Where GalCiv II was a tighter game, much more focused game. You are bouncing against the aliens relatively quick into the game, starting diplomacy relatively quick into the game, and making more specific decisions around it earlier on. GalCiv IV is trying to get back to that GalCiv II style, more focused gameplay. But the way that we're doing it is by putting is at the map level, where we're bracing everything in the sector, so you have concrete pieces that you can take, that you can capture and control before going on to the next piece. As well as one of the biggest changes, which is having the core worlds and the colonies as separate kind of mechanics, where you can go out and take 200 planets, but if you have just 12 of them that are core worlds, then those are the only 12 that you're managing, and it keeps you focused. So we're trying to get some of that scale that you had in GalCiv III, some of that massive universe, but not let you get overwhelmed and hitting that part of the game in GalCiv III, where once you're managing 60, 70 worlds, you're just like doing nothing but hitting in turn. Okay, picking an improvement here, picking an improvement here, picking an improvement here, especially for the players that didn't like to set governors. So we are in the process. We're getting ready to release next year, so you're going to have to tell us how well we're hitting that mark. But we're really trying to get that more focused gameplay and those more specific interactions that GalCiv II did so well into GalCiv IV.
Chad, did you have anything to add? Although I know that you... yeah. Well, if you have anything to add, and in addition, if you have a follow-up question.
I don't have much to add. Derek's really the leader on balance and gameplay, and merging the old things with the new. My role, of course, is to sort of take that vision and that beauty and diverse it, out to the team and just make sure that it gets activated upon. So we have a really amazing team. We've got Carrie and Paul and some people that have a rich history with prior GalCiv iterations. So it's been a beautiful team effort. And I know that one thing that we're talking about day by day is, how can GalCiv IV just be the greatest, a perfect blend of the best elements from what was in the past and also, forging into new areas. And I think that does make it, potentially the most playable, potentially the most enjoyable of the GalCiv iterations.
Yeah, Carrie's certainly, especially, was in GalCiv 2, 3, and 4. Paul was in 2, 3, and 4 as well. Carrie wasn't in 3. So from her perspective, GalCiv really is, she just lived that GalCiv 2 model. So a lot of the times when she'll pop up and say, hey, we should do this, we should do this, we should do this, it is bringing back a lot of the GalCiv 2, her favorite moments from that game. In fact, the Plague event that Divine was posting about on the forum, so just so everybody knows, there's a galactic achievement in the game that you can try for, which if you choose to attempt it, all of the players in the game will get a plague. It's called the Penaltopox. And everybody has it. It affects all of your citizens. The Yor don't really care. It's going to be hitting growth rates and things like that. So the Yor citizens aren't very affected for it. But for all the organic species, they are all affected by it. And then the first player that develops the cure for it is the only one that can get that cure, and then he has to determine if he wants to trade it, give it to other factions or not. Just keep it for himself and let them suffer. Granted, they may get mad, they may attack you, they may try to do anything they can to get that cure from you, or he can use it as leverage and get some great trade deals and trade it to these other factions and do it. This is actually from GalCiv II. This is one of the special things that could happen in GalCiv II that came up. So it's one of the things that Carrie suggested when we were talking about galactic achievements, these big kind of game-changing things that introduce a new challenge to the game that you have to deal with. We brought it from GalCiv II to be in GalCiv IV. I think Divine, I don't mean to misstate him, so he can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think his argument was it doesn't seem very logical that only one player can cure the plague, and then the other ones have to trade for it. Shouldn't the other ones be allowed to cure it as well? Which makes perfect logical sense, but I didn't do that because I'm trying to create that. If you do that, then every player just goes and cures it themselves. And I want to force players into that interaction with others. All the Zalaxi, they have the cure. I have to get it from them. There's something I have to do, and I have to either, become buddies with them. I have to give them all of this money. They're being ridiculous about it, or I'm going to go start attacking them, and I'm going to tear their empire apart until they sue for peace and they're willing to give me what I want. So I was trying to create that moment, which is why I don't allow any other player to get it once one player has it. Of course, if you're the player that can do it and get to it the fastest, then it's also neat to know that, hey, listen, you're not getting this through any other way than coming through me.
Okay, thank you for the question, Divine. Since you asked up, I'll just down. Right, so after that, we'll take one of the pre-submitted questions. Starting from the top of the list, this one's from Scyloness.
We have a couple people with their hands up, Henry.
Yep, we do. But the way I am doing this is one from the pre-submitted, one from them.
Okay.
Unless we have a little. Like, we have many people in the raise of questions, we'll go through them as priority, but we also have more queuing up in the chat as well. We'll try to get as many as possible. So the first pre-submitted questions was from Scyloness. Are we going to get the ability to make modules to put into the level up ship pool? Because mid to late game, when the anomalies are gone and you have hundreds of ships, all the good upgrades are gone.
Okay, so I totally cheated here. Henry sent me the list of these questions, and I was reading through them and thought, oh, you know what? Scyloness is absolutely right. So in this beta that you get right now, and I'm going to pretend like I had this great idea and I put it in, and Scyloness is just going to be happy to get it. But actually, it's his idea. It comes from this very question.
Yeah. I'll edit that out.
Okay, all right, thank you. There are two new techs in the tech tree that both unlock upgrades that you can, more upgrades options for your ships. Those upgrades do cost a lot of resources to do it if you're going to do it that way, because I definitely wanted to keep that break between, I found these upgrades out here that we can put on for free, and oh, you know, I can't do that here, but I want to, I still want to use this really more advanced upgrade. I have the tech for it. I'm going to spend a bunch of Durantium to do it, or a bunch of antimatter to do it, and I'm going to make this ship be really special. While we're talking about ship upgrades, let's go ahead and talk about a couple other things that changed in the beta. One of the big changes is that if anybody has played the alpha version, what you'll find is when you're out with an entire fleet, destroying another entire fleet, all of your ships kind of level up together, and you'll end up with 8 ships that all have to get level upgrades. And it can be tedious, to be honest, when you have a lot of fleets out there. Now I have, 40 ships that I have to pick level up upgrades for. This guy gets +1 moves. This guy gets an increased sensor range. This guy gets A, B, and C. So it's a lot to deal with. And the whole point of GalCiv IV is to try to give you that scale without requiring you to micromanage everything. So we changed the XP distribution system for the beta that's out today, so that the amount of experience that goes out to your fleet is based on the amount of damage that they did. Previously, if you destroyed a fleet that was worth 100 experience points, every ship in the attacking fleet got 100 experience points. So it just went through the roof real fast. Now it's going to take that 100 experience points and it's going to divvy it out to all the attackers based on how much damage they do. So you'll see your big deadly ships kind of going up in level 5, 6, 7, 8, where your little ships may hit level 1, level 2 after a little while, but it won't be immediate. So that helps keep them from being kind of overwhelming and tedious. So we will be controlling the upgrades a little bit more, and because of the changes, you will have techs that can unlock new upgrades for your ship, so you get more variety there, more powerful upgrades as you get later in the tech tree.
Right. We will now invite, I think, Baldbill up here. So, and thank you for the questions and the suggestions, Scyloness. We've got a lot of them to go through. Baldbill, are you there? Just in the invite to speak. If they still are. There we go.
There I am. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Just let me preface this question just a little bit. So I played a lot of GalCiv II and 3, and I started very early on 3. And one of the things I found difficult was just when there was something didn't seem right, something didn't read right, just a little bug or something. And I'm not talking game stoppers or anything. It was hard to I felt like, get feedback to you guys. Would you consider for GalCiv IV having something like, this is kind of an old school, but like a Bugzilla where we could log in as beta players and type in, oh, I saw this problem, blump, 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 or anything like that, just so that we could maybe, and then you guys can decide if that's a problem and, it's not worth solving, or this is one we want to take care of, that's up to you guys. But at least I feel like I could get feedback in a timely manner to you guys.
We talked about doing something like that. The problem, honestly, isn't the community side and providing the feedback. The community does a fantastic job. So getting it up onto the forums or getting it to Discord. Every time we put a new version up, Henry creates a new thread on our forum to talk about feedback specific to that one. We have a channel here on Discord, which is all about reporting bugs and typos and things like that. The problem is getting somebody here at Stardock on the dev team that is looking at those things. Because honestly, we have a list of stuff that we're getting in. Okay, we have the next build that's coming up next month. Here's all the stuff that we have to do, and we're pretty busy crunching on that. So it's going to be, so if you were putting in like straight things into Bugzilla or a system like that, it wouldn't really fix the real issue, which is we need a better streamlined process. We need somebody who owns getting that feedback together, and that should be Henry. Not to say, are you comfortable with that, Henry?
Yes, a bit. We basically have like a couple of people who like different elements involved in this. One thing that we do sometimes internally is we'll have like sit reports on what seems to be the most instant feedback. But one of the issues that we're still trying to get better with is like dividing between like what are bugs, what is feedback, and what is like just support issues, like when something is broken, like a driver or something. So I think we are getting better at that, but it is like an ongoing process we are trying to make smoother and improve. As far as I mentioned about the idea of like an internal form or something, I don't think we have any plans immediately to do something like that. But we are trying to get better with the forwarding things from forums, from Discord, even from Twitter and Facebook sometimes, though that's rare in some ways, and get that into the hands of whether it's a support issue, a QA issue, or a hey designers, how about this idea?
So if you're going to wrap that stuff, Henry, for Chad and I and the dev team to look at, what way do you prefer the community use? I know you tend to be everywhere the community is, and you don't want to make everybody go down one road, because if somebody's more comfortable posting in one place than another, that's fine. But if guys like Baldbill are asking, hey, listen, what's the best way we can get it? What do you prefer?
Honestly, the two main places I'd put it is, one is when we do those threads on the forums, they just keep things relatively centralized. We can also just point to people and go, hey, look at this thread, go there. The bugs, typos and goofs on Discord is good for individual issues. Feedback, though, should technically go in the Commons GalCiv IV channel on there. One thing I'm thinking of maybe doing as we enter beta is to actually maybe have a couple people who we trust. We have some very veteran people, like, for example, Divine, Scyloness, and others, that we may start to be like, hey, what do you think are the big issues and like the big things that we can improve in the game? So I may reach out soon and start looking at doing that, so we have more like the thing which I want to see more and just improve upon is having these sit reports, basically. Just something which is concise and like, here are the things from this last build, or here's the thing from last week, which the team can look at. But again, the issue is dividing between what is bugs and what are, like the feedback.
Yeah, and the Discord channels especially, there's a lot of people just kind of talking in the Commons one, which is fine. That's what the Commons is for. If you do have bugs or anything, try to be as concise as possible and post it in the bugs Discord, because I'll tend to watch that more closely, but where I won't like go back and see there's been 20 pages of people talking in the Commons one. I'm not going to go back and read all that. But hey, listen, if there's been 6 things posted in the bugs, I'm going to check it out. And I like your idea to especially get together with kind of the members that have been with us for a long time, like Old Spider and Rob, and making sure, hey, let's sit down and talk to them and let's find out, because I know like both those guys have gotten a hold of me directly and been like, hey, listen, here's some feedback, here's some things, and it's always great to get that from them.
Something I've also noticed that people are doing now, which I didn't think to do, it's not my, again, this isn't the case, like, not my idea, but really cool, is with our last a couple of dev journals, people have been using the Discord threads feature to give feedback on there. So even though there's a thread on the forums, people are using Discord threads a bit more for that, which is cool to see. I think that, again, the delineation is like separating what's feedback and what are bugs. I'm not sure, Bill, what would you think about if we just did an entirely separate channel, which was like gameplay related things? That's kind of what the comment's supposed to be for, but like if we had more of a like, here's long form feedback in Discord, if that might be better.
Yeah, and you could actually maybe set it up so that, like you say, have 2 or 3 things. Like, this is a bug. First type of thing, I'm going to say this is a bug. Problem was when I don't know, went to set production or something, could not do it. Another might be just a typo. So that you've already that we kind of self put them in the categories, and you can see what is. You may weed out things that are important or not so important, or something you could actually fix, just in a quick update some text or something, that way it's pre-sorted almost. If we can put them in different bins for you, maybe.
The only issue with that is I don't have too many channels, because that itself has like a different problem where you have too many channels of things, which we've done that in the past, and then you get channels which just kind of languish. So, but it is something we're looking at doing more. What probably we'll do is reach out to some of the veterans and see if you want to like help us build these what I call SIT reports, but situation reports each week. I don't want to make it into a job though, because the issue, like, it is, at what level are you comfortable like doing stuff as well? When it's it's playing the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't.
I
I
wasn't
don't.
suggesting different channels.
Yeah.
I was just thinking have 3 things that I would put in my message on Discord: the type,
Mm.
how bad it is, and then the description or something like that. So that's the format we present it to you in, inside the one channel, maybe. I don't know.
I'll have to think about it. See if we can come up with something which will better identify how to categorize this then. But don't want to spend too long on one question. Did you have any follow-up questions which are separate from this one, Bill?
No, thank you. I appreciate your time.
Back to audience. So next up we have Rob. Go back to chat. Then we'll do one of the pre-submitted questions, I think. Hey, Rob. Mic working?
There's a little picture of a phone on Rob's icon instead of like the little green dot. Does that mean that he's doing this on a phone? Is it Discord?
I think he's on his phone. I think he's on his phone.
Huh.
That does work though. It's just that it's probably having issues currently. We can have Riley up as well. I'll invite Riley to speak as well, and it'll be a race to see who talks first. Hey, Riley.
Hey.
What's
I
the
was
question?
just wondering if there was anywhere the beta is going to be that the alpha wasn't.
No. Good question. No, the beta will also just be on Epic.
Okay, thanks.
No problem.
Rob, are you there?
Rob, were you able to work it out?
He's trying. He's just trying to mute himself. Still can't hear you, Rob. Can you ask a question in the actually just a minute earlier? Wait, there was one question from Rob here. Please let me queue up colonization of planets by hitting the colonize button. Queuing up colonizations.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think that we put in auto colonize. It was actually a community request, and I'm not honestly in love with that feature because it leaves it to the AI to determine what planet it's going to go colonize, and players have very different ideas on what they should be colonizing right now. I personally always kind of prioritize tech planets until my people are starving, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to do something about this. Let's go find some food worlds out there. But don't really care about food unless I hit that starvation number. So if I saw the AI take my colony ship and go dump it on a high food world where I didn't need it, I'd be frustrated with that. So I never use auto colonize. I like Rob's suggestion a lot better, where instead of just saying, hey, here's a colony ship, just go colonize something, we do it the other way around, and you click on a uncolonized world and say, I want you to colonize this, and then the AI will take care of queuing up a colony ship from the nearest shipyard, putting a citizen on it, and then sending it out to that colony. There's still going to be a lot of like, which citizen do I want to send there? Oh my gosh, I can't believe it sent my guy that I made into a scientist, and it sent that out. So we'll have to put some logic around making sure that makes sense. But I think that's a much cleaner way to do it, and it's for the late game where you don't really care that much. You just want to grab these 4 planets and just say A, B, C, D. Okay, take care of it, game.
Maybe one of those things which is more optional for stage of game.
Yeah.
Also, I just saw Chad says that he loves auto colonization. Bob did post another question though. So what he wanted to ask was about the battle viewer. No specific question there, though we have had a couple people asking and putting up suggestions about the battle viewer. Do we have anything to say about that, Derek?
Sure. So there is a big change in the beta that just went up today, which is now when you zoom all the way into your fleets, you can get closer than you could before. And when you zoom in at that closer level, it's going to break apart and you're going to see your whole fleet there. So in every prior GalCiv, it would just show you a couple ships in that fleet. It would show you 3 or 4 ships that you had in that fleet. And if you had 12 in there, you still only saw 3 and 4, no matter what. Now, when you zoom in, you get to see your entire fleet there. So especially when you're designing your own ships, if you want to make a bunch of ships that all look like dogs and fish and rabbits, then you can zoom in and see them in their dog, rabbit, fish glory. The other thing that we've done with that is when 2 fleets battle each other, you're going to see those, when you zoom in close enough, you will see those entire fleets battling each other. So missiles flying back and forth, laser beams shooting from the ships that are right, the explosions that are happening there on the main map. We didn't want to take the player and take him to another screen where he watched the battle play out. What we found was players would do that once or twice. Oh yeah, that looks cool. And then they would never watch those again. We want to put that all on the main map so players can zoom in and see all that happening live without having to go anywhere else.
Right. Do you have anything else you want to add, Chad?
No, not a lot. As I said, Derek's kind of the visionary in this chat. I'm mostly here for moral support and to make ridiculous comments in the text-based channels. I'm just trying to do my part.
It's a great relationship because I'll say, hey, listen, we need to do all these crazy things, and Chad has the really tough job. Like, my job's easy. I just come up with crazy ideas all day long, most of which I steal from the community. Like, I have the best job in the world. Chad is the person who has to actually make this happen by, oh, hey, and we're going to put this out on, October 22nd, we're going to put an MVP build up. So all these crazy ideas, can you make sure that those all get made and done and in and tested by this date? And that's the hard part.
I've got a pretty amazing team, so no complaints.
Thank you for the questions, Rob. I'll be back to audience, hopefully fix that phone. Let's have one of the submitted questions. So, one that Publius had was, will leaders level up as well as ships?
No, there currently isn't any plan to put levels on leaders. So I like that the ships have levels, and I like ships that change as they get tougher. So ships whose missile attack goes up every time they gain a level, or ships whose moves go up every time they gain a level. Like, I think that's all really cool. Tracking the level of the leader, if we were going to do that, we would want to do it everywhere. It would feel weird if it was just done for the commanders of ships. Like, you'd want governors and you'd want diplomats and you'd want ministers to all have levels to be gaining experience points over time to go up. And so that's an entirely new system. And I don't have any plans to add that for release. I think it could be cool, but right now we're just trying to get the leaders to feel fun and functional. We put in leader actions in this update so that you can implant cybernetics in them. We put so that you can fire them, so that you can have them executed, so that you can give them a gift, so you can start to interact with your leaders that way. Having levels on there too, I don't see a design need for it at this point, so I don't think it's going to happen before release. I really like being able to implant cybernetics in them if I have the right resources and technology. So if I was going to do anything, honestly, what I would do is put more options along that path where, I could go ahead and change my leaders from their starting species and stats to getting them more and more and more technologically advanced as you go through the tech tree and as I spend more resources on them as it goes up. So I wouldn't have it come in just as straight experience into levels, but I could definitely see some kind of progression for enhancing them as you get more technologically advanced.
Yeah, that's thank you. Actually, I said now. Publius asked that question. One quick question I'll ask before we go next to Red Earth. This is more like a general one because we've had a bunch of people ask in the forums recently. Is what languages will GalCiv IV launch in? I think we answered this before, but confirm which languages we're planning on doing.
I don't have the languages in front of me. We'll plan to do similar to GalCiv III. So all the major EFIGs, French, Russian, German certainly has always been a big audience for us. So getting it translated into that will be good. We'll look back at the GalCiv III numbers and see where sales happen, where players are playing the game, and try to support those regions. I don't have the list in front of me right now. Honestly, right now we're just focused on getting the English in and get rid of a lot of the typos, get those down to be as clean as possible, and then when we get closer to release, we'll actually look at sending out to translation.
Recently, we had people asking about Spanish and Russian, and something which to understand is that basically we make sure the English is good to go, so we don't do full translations until we're close to 1.0, and that's when we start to do full translations across the board, because it costs money and time.
Yes, and we know it's going to change a lot.
Yeah. So, Red Earth. Ready to speak? Hello. Is your mic working? Oh, and Skills just said in chat, English, French, German, and Russian are likely. If your mic doesn't work,
muted.
Oh, can you hear me?
Oh, there we go.
Yes.
Yeah. What's your question?
Okay, good. My question is, how much of the civilization customization that we saw in Galactic Civilization III is going to be in Galactic Civilization IV?
I'm trying to think of anything that won't be. So we wanted to embrace that in Galactic Civilizations IV, and you've already seen some of the effects. The biggest one is every time you start a game, you can tweak your starting civilization. You don't have to go through full civilization customization. You can just, I'm playing a game as the Terran, but I want to change my abilities there, or I want to change the ships that I use, or I want to, take this point out of being liked, my diplomacy, and I want to put it into getting some intimidation that I can use. So even just starting a normal game, you can already play with those sliders and then jump into a normal game. We haven't added the full civilization customization yet, but we do have plans to add that too, so you can get in there and you can create something entirely new. Now you're not just tweaking the Terran, you're making the species that you want to make and play as, and you can adjust all of the same things in GalCiv III. I guess the only thing that wouldn't exist would be for things that we don't have mechanics for anymore. Some of the mechanics that have been removed from the game, and there aren't many of those. So off the top of my head, I can't think of anything that wouldn't be there. We still want to do civilization customization.
Okay, slight follow-up. Well, more of a complaint. Could you make it a little more intuitive when you're editing the text that they speak? Because I found a lot of times it was hard to figure out which, Civilization A and Civilization B, which one is the speaker and which one is the listener, and in which situation they're doing it. And not throwing shade, but there was a super weird bug where sometimes someone would talk as though they were a different civ, and not even a civ that was currently in the game. Like, I think I had Rick from Rick and Morty talking like a Pokemon.
You are absolutely not throwing shade, and I share, as somebody who's writing that text, I share your frustration. I've had that same battle with you, where I'm trying to figure out, okay, am I the speaker or the listener here? Which one do I need to set it for? And a lot of it's about who's initiating the conversation. Is the AI talking to you, or are you talking to the AI? If I'm talking to the AI, then I am the speaker. If the AI is talking to me, then I'm the listener. So it's really hard to tell, because a lot of times you just know this is a declaration of war, right? You don't know, who is the person that initiated the conversation, which one? So I hadn't thought about a solution to that, but I absolutely share your experience. I have also been fighting that battle, and we'll have to think about it a little bit on how we can clean that up.
Okay, thanks.
You. We did have more questions in the text chat as well. One was about if we'll be having more factions yet to come.
We do have one other one that is currently being created. I don't know how far beyond that we're going to go for release. We have 18 factions in That's double what we had in GalCiv III at release. It is a lot of factions, and I'm a lot more concerned with making sure they all feel unique and interesting. I don't want them to be balanced. I don't want them to be everybody likes them all equally. What I'm looking for is I want people that are like, I love this faction. They're my favorite. I only want to play as the Fester, and I think they're the coolest ones that are out there. And I'm totally fine with other players being like, I would never play as that. The Fester are horrible. I don't ever want to play them. That's because I want those mechanics to be pushed enough that it creates some polarization there. So when I talk to different people, they're not like, oh yeah, they're all fine. I want to hear like, no, I love these three, and somebody else, I love these three. So with 18, that is hard to do. So I'm a lot more concerned with the challenge of making all 18 of these guys feel unique and interesting than I am about making sure that instead of 18, we have 20 or 25 or 30. So right now we're focusing just on the 18, but I will leave that little teaser out there that there is another one that we're currently is in process right now.
I didn't notice the skills has just entered raised hand, so might have been just the queue a bit, and then we'll get to JetKitty.
Oh, I see how it is. Just because she's your boss, she gets priority.
Yes, she does. I like my job. I think she's asking a question for someone else though. Skills. You see the invite to speak. Oh, we do have a question from Zepsua as well, which I think is a good question. A lot of people do ask this. The question is if we'll offer a beta, basically a founders pack like GalCiv III, where you pay one time for all future DLC. We don't think we've announced anything like that yet. If we may or may not do that. Do you want to speak more about that, Derek?
Sure. I mean, the only thing I could say is the only thing that we're doing right now is just focusing on the beta exactly as it is. We don't have any plans anytime soon to offer, some kind of package deal where you get everything lifetime like we did with GalCiv III. Certainly up to release, I don't expect that to be the case. At release, if we take a look at where the market is and what's going on, we'll talk about it. But I certainly wouldn't be worried about if I buy it today or a month from now, are you going to drop some new super bundle that comes out that has all the stuff in there? No. There's no plans for anything like that.
We're not gonna horse armor this. I think that may be the question this guys want to ask. So, JetKitty, you've been waiting long enough. Ready to speak? They're delaying people. Oh, also, Rob also did ask for Space Dolphins, which I do agree. Space Dolphins would be cool. I haven't seen Space Dolphins since Sword of the Stars.
I always think about what's the game that had the samurai bears in it.
That was that was 0 Points game. Star Sector or something. Which was I liked that, but it wasn't well made. we could do better. We can make cooler space bears. Star Drive, yeah, that was it.
Star Drive, that's right.
JetKitty, I don't think they've noticed. We do have Riley asking to ask the question, so I'll invite Riley back up. If JetKitty, maybe away from keyboard or something. Hey Riley.
Hey, yeah.
Question?
Yeah, so I have another question. Because we're not doing a campaign in the traditional sense from like GalCiv 3, 2, and 1, is there going to be any way for players to create their own scenarios or situations in the normal games to mimic a campaign?
So on my side, and you have to tell me if this sucks or not. On my side, when I really look at the Galactic achievements as large campaign-ish style things that can happen during a game. And you can get as deep with these as you want to with interconnected events. 30 turns later, this is going to happen. The player has to make this choice. It's going to cause these things to happen. So we're really looking at putting them into the sandbox so that they can be emergent activities that are happening in the sandbox. So it will be very easy for modders to go ahead and say, I've created this new Galactic achievement. If you want to play a game and you want to go into the Galactic achievements game and you want to say, hey, listen, I want to try this challenge that's been put out here, this campaign that's been put out here, this event that's been put out there, you can hit that, and then you start on this larger scale mission that involves, whatever you want it to. You have to build this wonder, and that's going to require these 15 resources to be able to do it, and then you're going to get contact from this other civilization, and they're going to make these demands of you, and you have to choose, I'm going to declare war, and then you have a leader that joins you in anything that you want to. So we're trying to give you as many tools as you can to make interesting events. so that you can play them out in the sandbox game more than having a fixed map where you go in and you play one specific thing. That's our plan for it.
So, like,
And-
I would be able to recreate the Dreadlords campaign if I wanted using that system to an extent, like the main points, not the startings necessarily.
Right. The thing that isn't there is being able to set the specific map that you want. So as long as you can do it, then yes, yeah, you could go ahead and create those sorts of events that happen. There's one called Awakened Urges in 0.60, which is all of the space monster nests that are around the map. If you choose to start on that galactic regime, will all start spawning tons of space monsters. They get rid of their leashes, so they can. Right now, pirates and space monsters and sentinels are kind of limited to how far they can go from their spawning point. This will go away. They will start creating tons of them, and your job is to survive for 100 turns. And if you get to surviving for 100 turns, then you have successfully completed that event. We do have some Dreadlords that come into the game as part of the Orb of Dragonol Galactic Achievement right now. So if you're doing that one of the steps in that process will cause some Dreadlords to spawn and start coming after you when you try to open up a rift to another dimension. So we already have little touches of that. And yeah, it would absolutely be possible for a modder to go further into that and create whatever specific scenario he wanted to.
Awesome. That's exactly what I wanted.
Also, JetKitty's now joined. JetKitty, is your mic working? Maybe. I did see you post a question, though, in chat. So, if this is the question we wanted to ask, JetKitty wanted to ask, how many turns does it take to recruit citizens? 10 turns seems a bit much in Gal.
If you're talking about recruiting citizens, it sounds like you're talking about. So in GalCiv III, they were called citizens, which were what we in GalCiv IV called leaders. In GalCiv IV, there's leaders and citizens, and your citizens are your population. It's a little confusing to people that are really familiar with GalCiv III, but for people that are new to GalCiv IV, the language difference seem to make sense. But if we're talking about the concept of citizens as they appeared in GalCiv III and GalCiv IV, that's leaders. In GalCiv IV, what happens is you can go to your leader screen whenever you want to, and there will be some leaders there that are available to be recruited. So you don't have to wait X amount of turns and then have one come free to you. Instead, you'll go to that screen and you'll see there are 4 leaders out here. Here are their stats. Here are the special traits that they have. Here's how much it's going to cost to recruit them. Some of them will have traits like that they're greedy, so that their recruit cost is even higher. Some of them have particularly good stats in one area or another. There's a new one in 0.6 that gets double the amount of experience from battle, so he's really good to set as a commander. There's some that get bonuses when they're assigned as diplomats. I was playing this morning and found a leader who was talented at espionage, so if I assign him as a diplomat to another faction, every once in a while he'll steal a tech from that other faction. So they have a lot of traits like that, and it isn't like once every 10 turns. Instead, you'll go to that list and you'll see all the ones that are available, and it's largely limited by how much money you have and how much money you want to spend on recruiting leaders. So you grab a couple there, you can't afford them all, and assign them to ministry positions, diplomat positions, to command ships or to govern worlds as you want. There are also some events that you can have through missions or that you can find that come up and give you the opportunity to get free leaders as well, and then you can grab those leaders and use them however you want to. And there's an executive order that if you want to use some of your control, which is a new resource in GalCiv IV that allows you to kind of push things and to be impatient and say, I want this to happen right now, you can use up some of your control to go ahead and bring a whole new list of people onto your recruit leaders list, so you can get some new options in there.
There's a really cool question I do want to ask both of you in a second, which was one of you submitted one. But something which might be fun to talk about for a quick minute. Rob did ask if, basically wants to know what roughly seems to be left to be implemented before version 1.0.
All the faction differentiation on each of the factions is a big deal. Mod support is a big deal. Multiplayer is a big deal. The leader loyalty system that came in this version was a big system that we have to get in and play right. There's certainly lots of optimization and balance their new galaxy setup. So the galaxies can be absolutely huge with just tons and tons and tons of sectors. Is taking up tons and tons and tons of memory. So we're going to have to take a look at what we're going to do there, or just say, hey, listen, if you want to play on ridiculous levels, that's fine, but you better have the machine to run it, because it's going to require something beefy to do. Chad, do you remember any of the major systems that we have yet to come? I know you've been working on the milestone plan between now and release.
I think that you have hit on the majority of them, and I don't want to go too deep into anything that may be, are we putting that in, or are we still thinking about putting that in? I know we've got some amazing visual things, that are yet coming in. You've got just a small little sample of sort of the flavor cinematics and things. A lot of these that are now going into production right now, that over the next few weeks are going to come in and really add a level of polish and just fun surprises to the game. So those are all also in the coming sprint stories for the next couple of months, and big trailers and all those types of things that we've been working on and talking about for many months. So there's a lot of fun visual things that are coming the way of the game. There's a lot of, I think, remaining polish on just some of the screens and various things. We've just been working on something that's visually very cool just for the past week and a half or so, that I don't know if it's quite in the changelog or if we want to talk too much about it, but things going on with advisors and some cool new interactivity there. So a lot of visual polish, some new functional things that are coming. Our next, 2 or 3 sprints are really packed full with, hey, let's get these high level things in that we know are amazing, that we know we want to go to release with, and also let's polish on the screens and the interactive elements that are already there. Fun new spaceships and commander ships and things like that coming down the pipe as well. So a lot of really great stuff.
Yeah, I should say content too is going to be huge. Right now, if you've played, you start seeing the same events over and over again, and we really want, especially faction-specific events or racial ability-specific events, so that synthetic life there's a little bit of this in there. We did add the code for it, so it's all supported on the code side, so that the Yor, for example, can get some colonization events that nobody else does, that reflects kind of their view of the universe. We want to do more there. We want to add in more variety. We want people and to make them deeper too. We have a couple events that will play out over 100 turns, but we want to get more of that kind of stuff. So content creation is going to be big between here and release.
Okay. There's a couple pre-submitted questions that I think would be neat to ask. One of the smaller ones, which would be quick to answer, is DadsGamingAddicrtion asked, will the price change between now, alpha, now it's technically going to beta now, and the 1.0 release?
No, there's no plans to change the price between now and then.
Another question from... lost it. I think it was Commander 4X. There was a question about if we can, how deep will the leader system go? Like abilities, like for example, give them orders in a fleet to do something specific, that kind of thing. Like how deep are we planning to go with the leaders?
What were the examples there, Henry?
Example given was having them in a fleet, giving them specific orders as part of the fleet, and other basically ways to use them in game.
I don't have any plans for anything specific like that. I would like to see one thing we do have planned for leaders is that they start making requests of you. So we have missions that are specific to a particular leader, where he comes up and he wants to do a specific thing. He wants you to accomplish something for him. He wants to be a governor of this specific world, or he wants you as a player to get him resources, or he wants you as a player to go destroy this pirate base or a specific pirate ship that's out there or monster that's out there. He has some vendetta against somebody. So getting some more story elements out of the leaders is something that's big to us. One of the things that I really liked was something that Chad said when he was kind of play testing as we're getting ready to start. Now that the loyalty system's in there and the leaders will start to cause trouble for you, they'll start to speak against you if their loyalty is low, or even abandon you and resign. And I've had commanders that get so mad at me and I've done nothing about it, and they take off. They join the pirate faction and they start attacking my ships. They can do that now. And one of my favorite things I heard say was from Chad, which he said, I feel like they're real people now. Like they are doing their own thing. They're pursuing their own agendas. So getting deeper into that, I would love to do. But as for like adding more player functions for being able to do A, B, or C with them outside of the leader actions that we just added in this update, where you can have them executed or fired or cybernetically enhanced and things like that, I'm not really planning for that.
Remember, folks, you can raise your hands. This is a very cool question, though, which I did want to ask for. I think both of you can have something to say about this. MrBlondini asked, have continual improvements in sound and graphics made your jobs harder in terms of sometimes forcing you to a choice of, do we spend time and money making the game more intellectually appealing, i.e. having a challenging intelligent AI, or making it more graphically appealing, i.e. having a ship designer and a battle viewer?
Oh man, Chad, this is all you, my friend. How is the rising bar affecting game development?
So, those are conversations that we're quite literally having every day on different levels because, of course, as the technology is emerging, as our team is maturing, as just, the focus of ideas within different teams at Stardock, as that focus gets honed, you constantly have this balance of, wow, that's an amazing new idea. Can we do that? I mean, this is every week, we have a series of meetings and these types of conversations are coming up. There's a really brilliant idea that someone had, maybe someone in the community had, or or someone within our own teams, or we discovered some new aspect of the creative technology, and we're like, why aren't we doing this? Why can't we do this? And we've got some wonderful people that are able to say, hey, we've tried things like that. It just didn't pan out for this reason or another reason. But a lot of times, really, what we're doing is exactly what the question is being asked here, which is we're having to debate between what is that balance between, hey, we could do this, but what is time, money, and development, timeline? Where does it fit within those aspects? And so we're going to do it now, but what bar do we want to hit? And oftentimes it's honestly like, how much of it do we want to do? If we're going to do a new thing, a lot of times that does come down to me. Paul will weigh in, and our developers will weigh in, and Derek and Brad, of course, always have good and strong opinions on these things as well. But it's every week, the answer to your question is, yeah, that's our struggle. Every week when it comes to these things, we have a wonderful modeler and animator on the team. And I'm having conversations with him almost every day, and looping Derek in saying, hey, where do we want to set the bar on this thing? Because we can go supernova on this, but how much time do we want to spend? How many man hours do we put into this? And so we're setting that polish bar. If we're taking a leader that was in GalCiv II or III, and we're saying, hey, let's port that over to the new technology, maybe it's Unity or whatever it may be, let's get that model ported over. And my animator says, oh, well, that's going to be 3 days. Oh, okay. Well, that's 3 days because of the way that mesh was set up or the way that skeleton was set up on that old model. All right, we got 3 days to port it over. How beautiful can we make this thing? Oh, we can make it insanely beautiful. Oh, great. How many days? Well, that's 3 weeks. Okay, we don't have 3 weeks and 3 days. I'm going to give this thing, you've got 11 work days to make this thing as fantastic as possible. And we've really spent several months pinning down exactly what those thresholds look like. How long can artists, how long can audio engineers, how long can our developers spend making beautiful new things? We've got Sarah on the team, and she's been doing some things with battles. And this is a conversation with her every day too, right? She's saying, hey, I could do this thing over here, but what's our time frame? What do we want to get in as a first iteration or as a second or third iteration? And where do we ultimately want to put that bar? So you've asked a brilliant question. And the one word answer is maybe. Maybe we'll push it all the way, and maybe we won't, because everything ultimately in game development is at the end of the day, it's balanced by how much bang for the buck can we pass on to the player and still execute in a fashion that's timely, that meets our production goals. And so that's my world.
One thing, it's also really nice to be able to put out these monthly updates, because you get to see that progress happening, and it keeps us in a timely mindset of, all right, here's the things that we need to do, but I have an update coming out for the community in 1 month, in 4 weeks when we start. So what can we do for then? We have something to deliver. We want them to be able to see, and I hope every time you get an update from us on GalCiv IV, you take a look at it and say, okay, that month was well spent. This is all positive, strong features and going in the right direction.
Again, thank you, Mr. Blondini, sorry, the name was, who asked the question earlier. A question which is well related to what Zepsua asked earlier, and something which might be interesting to do is because one of the things for founders was that they could have name and credits, a star probably named after them, kind of thing. Do you have any plans to do anything like that? Maybe with our MVPs, maybe with the people most active, like helping us develop the game during the alpha. I think it's something we might be able to do. Am I wrong?
I'm totally fine with it. Yeah, Henry, if you want to head that up, I certainly don't mind, putting them in a thank you list in the game or letting them name stars. But yeah, the community managers would need to manage that.
Okay. One question from DVR, which I think is going to be related to what's happened with our new update. They say that they enjoyed the way that research was done. They enjoyed the way research is done in GalCiv IV, but they missed the tree view and to see how far they're going along with the research. Is there a plan to bring something like the tech tree back?
Yes, in 0.6, there is a technology library where you can go out and you can browse all of the technologies that are available in the game and see what they require, what they unlock, what leads to them. It's not in a tree view, it's more of a library view where you can see everything and kind of take a look at what's going on. It is, at this point, pretty, but not very usable because the thing that that screen doesn't have yet are the filters and the search functionality. So Sarah's currently working on, and I think we'll get it in before this beta goes public. We just literally got the screen in right before we put it on test build today. And so I think next week, Sarah will have that functionality in, and then we'll put it out before release. But once you have that, then you can do things like filter and show me only the text that I have all the prereqs for. So you can say, hey, listen, these are the ones that are in my random pool that are available for me to select. Let me look through them and see which one I want more and if I need to re-roll or not, or if I want a particular one or not. Or I could put a filter on to say, just show me all the military text. That's what I want to see right now. Or you could put one on that's, let's filter these by lowest costing tech to highest costing tech. And you can do all those sorts of looks, and it becomes very usable. So when you get 0.6, you can take a look at the technology library.
Yeah. 0.6208208. It's got a weird version number.
Oh. You can take a look at the technology library right from the research screen and see what our first pass looks like, and then just imagine that with search functionality and filters on it, and you'll get an idea for the direction we're going with it.
Also, yes, TD, the beta is already out in the testing branch. It'll be out for everyone later on. But if you want to test it now, you can do so now. We're coming to the end of our hour pre-schedule, but Cyclones. Right to speak. Do you have a? Actually, Cyclones did submit a bunch of stuff, which probably could all respond to in the forums. But oh wait, Cyclones.
Yeah, let's bring him up to speak. He's certainly provided lots of feedback.
Yes,
Scyloness
yes.
is the reason that we got more customization of ships in, because he'd missed that from GalCiv III. I initially had wanted to make ships much simpler. I felt like the hardcore players were able to go in and game the system and make these super ships, and the casual players were almost punished if they didn't do that. And it was really hard for players to imagine what mass was, and if I get a technology that increases my mass by 10%, now I can make new ship designs and I can fit one more gun on there, and that didn't feel like very fun gameplay to me. It felt very tedious. But Cyclonus sort of talked me through what he liked about the system and what the gameplay experience he was looking for. So we changed some things to put more slots on ships so you could create customized ships that you want to. But I see he's up there now.
Cyclonus, it's a question.
Hello, thank you. And I appreciate it. I'll admit, when I saw mass removal, I pretty much quit and didn't play until we spoke. And I see your reasoning that, yes, my ships were extremely overpowered in Galactic Civ III, which is why the AI was always defeated. And I like how you have made ships smaller at the beginning, put a level system in, and now that you've added the ability to add parts on them, then I'm okay with it.
Okay, good.
But my question is more about colony management. I don't want to make 12 farm worlds. And I see that you brought my irrigation back, but we need more type of systems to integrate to have better food, because I don't want half my core worlds all half farm planets.
Absolutely. So there's a couple things that we did in this patch to fix that. One of which is to bring back irrigation network as you requested. The second thing is, since colonies don't grow population, before what would happen is you'd create colonies, you put a colonist on them, and they would start to grow. And now there's 3 people there, and then there's 4 people, and then there's 5 people, and all those people require food. But they're not producing anymore. A colony is unmanaged. You can't have any improvements there. They're just getting hungrier and hungrier and hungrier. So the big change in 0.6 was colonies won't grow anymore. I put 1 colonist on there, and if I want to create more citizens on that planet, then I'm going to have to put a governor there, and I'm going to have to let them grow. So people come from my core worlds. That will help human players out. It also made a massive difference from the AI. So when Carrie was working on making the AI better, suddenly she saw a change in the AI where they weren't having to do exactly what you're talking about that you were doing as a human player and put farmers on all their worlds and make their core worlds into farm worlds in order to feed their empire. So that made a big difference for them. The third change that was made in 0.6 was generally I went through the planets and bumped the amount of fertility on the planets, the amount of farming that's there for them. So it's a little easier to get that from each of the worlds now. I'm hopeful we'll play with it and see if that helps.
Sweet. And then is there going to be an ability for smaller, crappy possible core worlds that we can put like a mining module on a starbase to get the tetrapods so I don't have to make a colony world?
Yes. Yeah, that's such a good point. It is frustrating to see a world that has a trade resource or an artifact on it, and you have no way of getting at it without putting a governor on there, which is a total waste. Yeah, we'll want to use the orbital upgrades system to be able to upgrade those colonies and be able to tap those trade resources without having to build something there.
Cool. And then last one, was there balance done to strategic resources spawning on the map?
Oh, yeah. So the entire map generation system was redone for 0.6 so that you got the sector layout all the way down to, we actually found there was a bug in resource placement all the way down to the creation of solar systems and resources, particularly like Durantium and Prometheon, that were just not show up. You get lots of antimatter and some Durantium, and then it was just impossible to find Thulium or Illyrium, and they're super, super rare. So you start a game of 0.6 and start looking around, you're going to see those resources now.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. That was all my questions.
Right. So we've come to our hour. I know we have a few more questions, but we'll try to get stuff in the forums on Discord, etc. Derek, Chad, any final words before we wrap things up?
Let's hit Mooncows. He's had his hand up for a little while.
Oh, okay. I'll vet Mooncows.
And he has such a great username. How can you pass?
Is that
Mooncows like space dolphins.
Hello.
Yeah, exactly. Hello.
It's from World of Warcraft. Okay. Really quick, fun question. If you could add any feature, no matter how time-consuming, expensive, or difficult, and it would be completed instantaneously, what would be a feature you would wish into existence?
Oh my gosh. All right. Put Mooncows back down again. He has wasted his question. The one I think about, but it's really big, is at some point we have to do this with GalCiv IV. I would really like each of the sectors to have a dramatically different laws of physics almost going on there. I would like it when I go from sector 1 to sector 2, this sector is dramatically different, has different resources, maybe different kinds of species that are there. You did say this was irregardless of budget and time, so I'm going to go full out with this. Full out on it, that when you go to this other sector, like the everything there is alien to what you had in your home sector, and you could find several variations and different kinds of dimensions that you're actually traveling through more than just physical space. I think that would be my dream one, where then this sector laser weapons don't work and movement is super slow, and it's infested with these a particular type of space creature that is hunting here, and another one that's like, oh my gosh, there is thulium everywhere in this sector, but there's no planets here, and there are these nebulas that cause damage to ships that pass through them, just all kinds of weird stuff, so that whenever you pass through a subspace stream, you're almost like, okay, what am I going to find?
Yeah, that's super cool. Thanks.
Find space dolphins.
Yeah,
Yes,
space
Space
dolphins.
cows.
space dolphins and moon cows.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Did you have a follow-up question, or was that it?
I have one other quick question. I really love the asymmetry with like particularly the two new races, but are you focusing more on asymmetry over balance? Because I feel like balance gets kind of chased in single player 4X games, and it doesn't seem like it's super necessary for a single player game. And I really like the asymmetry of the races and the power balance or disbalance, I guess.
Yeah, I would be perfectly fine having a race in the game that just loses every time when it's played by the AI. That would be fine with me, as long as it's one race and not that the AI just sucks in the game in general. We need challenges. But if I had a race that it was so cool to play and so interesting, but the AI was just never really very good at it, then I would accept that, as long as some players were out there like, that's my favorite race. I love playing with them. That's the thing that drives me more. And if the AI isn't so good at it, that's fine. I just need to make sure that when a normal player's playing, of course, we don't want them all to be like that, so they're all pushovers. I still want a challenging game, and I want the AI on the factions on the other side too, where everybody knows that if you start out neighbors with a Mimot, there's going to be trouble. They're just little furry monsters, and we all can agree that they're the worst thing in the universe. And the Festoon are secretly the good guys.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Illusion Race just make things of the Packlet from Star Trek.
Yeah.
Anyway, right. I think that's our final question for this evening. Yeah. Any final words before we wrap up?
No, thank you for everybody. Like we said, 0.6 is on the test branch right now on Epic. Go out and try it. Provide feedback here on Discord or on the Stardock forums. We'd love to hear from you. This is honestly the best time where we put up these test builds just for the MVP community and start getting that feedback right away, because my next week and a half of my life is going to be all about just getting things polished and ready to put this out to the public. So I'm especially focused on hearing everything that you guys have to say, what you like, what you don't like, and then also fixing bugs too.
This is where I focus on the SITREP reports and post it. Yeah, thank you everyone for your questions. I know we didn't get to everything that was pre-submitted, but we're always on Discord, always on the forums, also on Twitter, Facebook. If you're not following us there, why aren't you? And we'll have this recording also posted for everyone to listen back to on YouTube, for people who weren't able to make it today. Thank you all, and we'll see you in the GalCiv IV.